This is Ronald at Win911, and thank you for joining us for our next installation of our How To Instructional video series. This is video number 7, and in this video, we're going to be covering setting up an OPC DA connection. All right, so if you'll open up your configurator, we'll walk through this. You can get there either by going to Configure Alarming here, or Alarming at the top, and we're going to select OPC DA. And we're going to start with sources so it knows where the information is located. If you click on the bottom left on the add there, we're going to create one. I'm just going to call mine Kepware. That's the test server I've been connecting to. We'll call this Kep test. And then we are connecting to one single source, not a group of redundant sources, which you can put multiple links in there. But again, we're just looking at one source. Click on the machine name. And this is going to search your network for machines that can be connected to. So we're going to let that search for a little bit, and then I'm going to pause the video and be right back with you. Okay, it found some options for us here. So we're going to select the computer where it's located, click accept, and then we're going to search for the server class as well. That should pull up your OPC server there. Great. Click accept, and we're going to save that. And then from here, you've got a couple of options. If you only have a handful of alarms, you know the information exactly already, you can populate it here. It may be a little bit easier if you go to the import side first, and then it'll bring up a list of all the importable items. So we are going to scroll down here, and then just pick out one of these for our example, and then move forward. We'll just do the gate valve there. And then a couple options you have here. You can create this as a data tag only with no alarm event being created, or you can create it on any of these 3 events here, or you can create a quality alarm. I'm going to start with importing as a data tag, and I'll show you how to manually create the alarm. Actually, we'll go and do it both ways. We'll start with this way. So we're going to import that here. That's pretty quick there. One thing I will point out is that once you've imported an item, it is grayed out, so you can no longer select it. So if you need to go back and add some new ones, you can do that without having to worry about duplicating one you've already added. So that one should now be imported in our alarm section. So we're going to go click on that, and there it is. Great. So we're going to start here, put it in edit mode, and we can edit some information here. You can give it a description if you'd like. You can say it's in a certain area. We'll say it's in building 2. The source and item ID will be pre-populated for you. Your update rate, any applicable units of measurement you want to display when the alarm information or report information is sent out. That could be gallons, it could be meters, it could be feet, so on and so forth. And the item label here. And then on the alarm side, let's take a look at that. You'll see there's no existing alarm information. So the system needs to know what constitutes an alarm. So we're going to create the add new button there. And we can call this high severity. We can call this low severity. You can call it whatever you'd like. It's the information that'll be displayed. So we'll call this high severity. We'll call this high severity for gate valve. And then it needs to know the condition upon which an alarm event should occur. So you've got a couple options here for your condition. You can do item value, quality, or watchdog. And then if you're going item value, you have a lot of options there as far as less than or equal to, not equal to, greater than and equal to, or just greater than. So we're going to say that an alarm should happen on anything that is not equal to 0. That is returned back to us. And then we've defined the alarm condition as far as when the alarm should happen. Now, when it does happen, what do we do? So we're going to associate the default strategy, which is to notify everybody. If you've created new strategies, they'll appear here. You could do default or do not notify, which is don't tell anybody. We're going to leave it as notify everybody. And then again, any units of measurement that are applicable. And then the severity. So natively, the system does not know what constitutes something high severity or low severity. So we're going to tell it what to look for and tell it that this alarm we consider to be this level of severity. This is useful for when you're creating the advanced tactics. That way, if you put as a decision block, check the severity, is it lower or higher than, let's say, 400 or 500, whatever it is, it's going to refer to this and say, okay, well, this has been assigned a severity of 500. It is higher than 5 or higher than whatever we're checking for. So we're going to go ahead and do X or do Y based on the severity that the user has set up and assigned to this particular alarm. And then if we want to apply any labels to the alarm as well, same kind of thing. If we have in our advanced tactic a decision block looking for an alarm with the label building 2, it will find this. All right, so we're going to leave that there, and then I'll point this out as well. If you need to add multiple alarm conditions to this, you can do that, and you can do that a couple times if you'd like as well. If you need to add those multiple ones in there, but we don't, so we're just going to delete those. Great, then we've got that in there, got the severity set. Perfect, we're going to save that, and I'm going to switch screens. We're actually going to build out a tactic with this and make sure it works, and then kind of continue on. Okay, and before we get started testing this out, I want to point out that this is associated with our default strategy. So I've got 2 email addresses set up for our testing here so we can run through this. So for the first pass, we would expect that both email addresses would get an email because default is set to notify all. Let's go ahead and set this off, and then we'll make sure. Actually, we'll just, I had it set off earlier. I'm going to turn it off, but it still should generate the alarms as expected upon the state change, which, there you go, came right away. Now it's showing that it's inactive because we set it as inactive. It's good to go. Let's check our other email. Perfect. There it is, and same thing. So we're going to delete those just to make this easy to see here, and then delete this as well. Okay, and now we are going to create an advanced tactic to base it off the severity of it. If it's higher than a certain severity, we want it to go to one email address. If it's lower, we want it to go to the other one. So I'll walk you through how to get that done. We're going to go to notification. We work left to right. Start with tactics. I'm going to create an advanced tactic here. Bottom left. Zoom out, make sure you can see it here. We'll call this test advanced tactic Kepware. And then this is going to be based on the severity is our initial decision block, and then we're going to set that to 499, and then if it's greater than 499, we want it to email Ronald, or if it's less than 499, we want it to only email Dan here. So one of these, not both of these, should be getting that notification. So we're going to save that, and then we're going to create a strategy to associate with it. We're going to call this test strat. Just can't type today, Kepware. All right, I'm going to take this to advanced mode, and we're going to remove 1 and just do on the initial event. We're going to start a tactic, which is the one we just created here. And we want to do the test tactic there. And then once it becomes terminal, stop the strategy, which in turn stops the tactic. I'm going to save that. And now that we've created that, we've associated the tactic with the strategy, and now we can associate the strategy with that specific alarm. Let's go ahead and do that now. You can see it's on default. We're going to change that to our new strategy here. And then we're going to run this test again to make sure this works. And before we run the test, I want to point out again that the severity is set at 500. I'm going to pull up our advanced tactic here so we kind of look at that as we run this test. And sometimes if it draws funny, you can back out and back in, or go back in there. Okay, so remember our severity is set at 500, so we're expecting that once we set this off, that only Ronald will get an email, because this is reading as, is the severity greater than 499? If that's true, go to the right, which is email Ronald. If that's false, go to the left, which is only email Dan. So only Ronald should get an email, not both. Let's go ahead and make sure my email boxes are clear. Makes it a little bit easier to keep track of this stuff. Perfect. And let's go ahead and set up our OPC client here. All right, perfect. And we're going to see what happened and if our emails came through. All right, so let's start with Dan's. So nothing so far for Dan. and we are expecting, perfect, that this comes through. You can see it's active and unacknowledged. All the information is here. Awesome. Again, let's check Dan, make sure this works exactly as we thought it should. Dan is getting nothing, so only Ronald is being notified. So I'm going to set this off, and we'll do that in reverse. All right. So that's set off now, so we should be getting one more notification for Ronald, and then none more, because none more is definitely how you say that, for Dan here. Oh, I'm sorry, we said on the, I forgot on our advanced strategy here, we did not set this to re-notify on state change. All we said was when it becomes terminal, just stop the strategy. Had we set it to re-notify, I would have gotten a second email there. So that's working as expected. So we're going to delete this, and then we're going to switch this. So now it notifies Dan. So there's a couple of ways here. I could change this or switch these two, but what I'm going to do is change the severity of the alarm itself to make it 498. So that way it's less than this amount, so now it should trigger this way instead. Let's go ahead and change that real quick. Edit mode and call this 498. Okay, we're going to save that, perfect, and then we're going to redo that, and then it should work as expected. Right, and before we set it off, I'm going to pull up the tactics so we can follow along again. Okay, so again, it's currently set at 498, so we're expecting that once we set it off, only Dan gets emailed and not Ronald, because it's less than 499 there. Let's go ahead and set this off. All right, give it a quick second here. As you can see, the time it takes to get set off is very, very fast, or to notify is very, very quick. So we have our notification to Dan, active and acknowledged as it should be, showing the current severity there, and then we should not get any notification to this inbox, which we are not. So there you go. I hope that was a useful run through for everybody. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give us a call. We are here to help, or consult the knowledge base on the website. And thank you for joining me, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks, everybody.